today we're deep diving on the number one reason I see business owners roller coaster in their business. They have huge highs only to be followed by massive lows, and they can never seem to sort of break through the stability roof and have abundance flying in from there onwards. Now, the main reason that this is occurring is due to a motivation strategy that is existing within the individual. So, I'm no Picasso, but I'm going to draw things out for you. This is super simple. We've got a very, very basic graph. And down the bottom, we've got pain. And then on the other side of the graph, we've got pleasure. Right? And then up through this axis, we've got the money you are generating. Right? And then basically what we've got here is we've got this weird ratio that occurs. So we start to make a little bit more money in our business, right? Things start to finally kick along and things are going good. And things are becoming less painful for us as we're generating more cash. We don't have the normal problems of fuck, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pay this bill. I don't know whether I'm going to be able to make this happen. I can't even eat healthily. I can't even do these things. This does start to diminish as you start to generate more cash. And it usually seems to happen, there's this weird phenomena that usually seems to happen somewhere in here. And we're talking profit, not income here, right? When people start to sort of generate somewhere between 1 to 200 grand per year, what they start to do is they sort of cross the threshold from pain to pleasure. Things are fine now, right? Most of us would agree that once we start generating that sort of cash in profit, our lifestyle becomes pretty good. There's not much financial pain in our lifestyle. Now, you might be thinking that's a huge variance. Yeah, of course, because everybody lives a different lifestyle. Everybody's got different expenses. Some people have 6 fucking kids that they have to look after. Some people live by themselves in a fucking share house and all the rest of it, and they've got fuck all expenses. It varies person to person, of course. But what the point is here is that you enter this zone where, again, you're in the state of pleasure, right? You're away from pain now. So what ends up happening is your motivation to actually move further forward isn't there anymore. The pain that got you here is not there anymore, right? Because it's not painful, and that's what was motivating you. As well as that, you might have had financial pain might have been motivating you, but there might have also been some toxic underlying motivations as well. You may have wanted to sort of prove to yourself that you could hit the mythical 6 figures in profit. You may have wanted to prove that to yourself. There may have been some underlying sort of traumas and some underlying competitive nature that other people might have earned a certain amount of money and you've now done 100 grand, so you've made it, right? Now, all of these motivations, where the fuck are they now? All of your motivations are gone. There's no motivations now to kick things up a gear, because the question really becomes, okay, cool. So why 500K per year in profit, for example? And you might be thinking straight away, I would never need that. Well, there you go. There's your answer for a start as to why you'll never hit it, right? You don't have any necessity around it, and you might even have some belief systems that that's too much money or whatever it might be. But for me personally, I have an outrageous fucking vision that I need to accomplish in this lifetime. We have Impact HQ, which is a facility that's going to be the best event space that exists in Australia, if not in the world. And I have to build that within my life. It's part of my soul dream. It's what I'm put on this earth to do. And that's going to cost millions upon millions upon millions of dollars. In saying this, I'm giving you the fucking hint right now. I'm giving you the fucking hint as to why you're not breaking through out of this comfort zone here, right? This comfort zone here where you're in this sort of limbo of well, you're not motivated by pain, but you're also not motivated by pleasure. And what ends up happening in this, I'm sure you can see this already, is since the motivation over here has sort of gone, what you end up doing is you end up going backwards, right? You end up going backwards in your business until you're close enough to pain that you have motivation to go away from pain again. But then you're here and you're now not motivated anymore, so you come back to pain. And then you hear, and then you hear, and then you hear, then you hear, then you hear, then you hear. And you just continually, perpetually stay in this cycle. And this is the biggest problem. Now, the question becomes, all right, what are we gonna actually do to shift this? What do we need to do in order to escape this level of motivation that is driven by pain and is ultimately just going to give you more and more pain or less and less success? So here's what we need to do. So we need to rewire the way your brain is working. And yes, that is a brain, and no, I'm not Picasso. So what we need to do is we need to recognize firstly that everything that we do within our brain is a stimulation, a trigger, and a response, right? So basically what happens is we've got all of these neurons, and then we've got these little pathways where neurons are wiring together, and we're building different sort of strategies, right? And we're looking at a motivation strategy here of what do we do in order to run the motivation strategy, to do the work, to actually get the result that we're after. So let's say, for example, you wanted to build your business to 500K per year to start with, right? Let's say you wanted to do that. Well, what we need to do is we need to remove these stimulators that are all pain stimulators, right? We've got all of these things that stimulate your brain, and at the moment, it's only really pain that is stimulating your brain enough to actually move. So what we need to do is two things. We need to grab all of your pain stimulators that's likely founded in trauma, and we need to release all of them. We need to release the fact that so much of our motivation was, for example, curated from a childhood trauma where our siblings were always idolized and we were always left out, and performance was what got attention, so that's why we're motivated to build the business or whatever it might be. This is a stimulation, right, for our brain. Our brain is stimulated by the pain of being left behind in our family or whatever it is. So a lot of the time, in order to rewire this, it's some deep fucking work, right? It's some deep trauma work. It's some deep releasing of what used to motivate you so that we can replace it with something else. You might also have some scarcity around finances or whatever it might be that is keeping you in that pattern that we talked about earlier, in that place earlier where you're motivated to not be broke. You're motivated to not have financial stress. These are all negative stimulations. These are all fear-based and pain-based stimulations. So we need to release all of those to start with. Now, it's important to note that if we release all of these and we do not replace them with anything else, your motivation will drastically decline. You won't have any motivation at all. So you might be really bliss and you don't have all of this pain and trauma and all the rest of it, but you won't have any motivation to do anything. I've been in that fucking place many times. I've been in the place where I've built things really beautifully, and then I've realized that my motivation was from a place of anger, was from a place of trauma, was from a place of fear, whatever it might be, and I released all of those things. And then I did fuck all for like 6 months, right? So we don't want that either. What we want to do is we want to eradicate these unresourceful stimulants. And what we want to do instead is we want to replace them with deeply, deeply, deeply fulfilling outcomes. Okay, so what we do with a lot of our clients is we, through this reprogramming phase, what we do is we get them to come up with what we call a soul dream. And basically this process doesn't come up overnight, right? This is something that we really work in with people, and it takes some time to develop. So if you don't know it straight away, totally fine. But basically what a soul dream is we get them to start visualizing why they were placed on this earth. Now, whether you believe we are or not, it's irrelevant. The question is, What if you were? If you were placed into your meat suit, your physical body, if you were incarnated into that body for a purpose, for a reason, for an objective, to accomplish a certain mission during your lifetime on this earth. If you were injected for a reason, what would that reason be? That's the first question you need to ask yourself. Why is your soul here? Then from there, what you need to start doing is you need to start visually mapping out a visualization of what your life looks like when you are filling your soul dream at the deepest level, when you're fulfilling it at the deepest level, right? And you start visualizing what life looks like when you're fulfilling it at the deepest level. Now, the reason that we do it like this is so that you don't end up in what we call a lifestyle or an ego-based dream. Now, a lifestyle or an ego-based dream, that's simply a dream of like, yeah, fucking I'd love a Lamborghini and I'd love like to be able to like go out on yachts and party and do these things and whatever it is. It's nothing wrong with that. Everybody has a lifestyle dream and everyone has an ego-based dream, right? Part of my sort of lifestyle dream is all of the scuba diving that I do and things like that. But it's not a soul dream. To me, my soul dream is what I said to you earlier, which is building Impact HQ, having this facility that allows me to fulfill my soul's purpose so fully, right? So what you need to do is you need to create a dream so large that is so deeply fulfilling for you, that is the essence of what your soul was placed on this fucking earth to do. You need to create a dream from that place that it is large enough and stimulating enough that it now becomes the new stimulation in your brain. And I'll pop in who said this quote through the edit, but when you have a dream that is large enough, there's now no need for a crisis. So if we go back to this chart from before, what'll end up happening is you'll be in this place here, right? And you will have a soul dream that is motivating you. And you are being pulled towards this soul dream more than anything else, right? You're being so deeply called towards it that it will not matter how far away from pain you end up drifting. You're so far from pain now, and you're in so much pleasure that your motivation is still there because it's your soul dream that's motivating you more than anything else. And the beautiful thing about this is that no matter how much income you end up generating, for example, you will not have to have this fucking crisis or this financial crisis or whatever it is. You won't have to have this crisis in order to get you moving. Now that you don't have to have this crisis anymore, guess what? You will not have this crisis anymore. Now, it's also worth saying that when we're working with our clients intimately, we are getting them to soul dream every single day, if not multiple times a day, because you've got to remember, how long have you been running the neural circuitry of being motivated by pain, right? How long have you been doing that for? You've been doing that probably the better part of your whole life. So it takes a lot of conditioning to rewire your brain to think in a different way, to be motivated in a different way. So again, what we get our clients to do is every single day, multiple times a day, they're taking a moment to stop and visualize what their soul dream is, visualize what their life is like when they're fulfilling their soul's purpose. And they're doing that multiple times. They're journaling about it. They're writing about it. They're doing everything they can to paint that picture bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger until it's so all encompassing that they're so fucking driven towards it each and every day. I hope this has been helpful. If you want to share your soul dream, please do down below. And also, it's really appreciated if you can share this with someone you think needs to hear it. Big love to you. Stay lucid. See you on the next one.